Serie A predictions. Who will win the scudetto? Who will get relegated? Who will shock the world in a good way? And who will shock the world in a bad way? Will Antonio Conte's Napoli go back to back? Or will the curse of 2 games a week strike and destroy Napoli? Will Allegri replicate 2011 and win the scudetto with the Rossoneri? Or will he get sacked halfway into the season? Will Kivu do what Jose Mourinho done in 2009 and win the scudetto in his first season at Inter? Or will the Bianconeri, Igor Tudor, deliver number 39? Como, can Fabregas do the impossible? Serie A predictions. Let's get into it. Serie A predictions. I've been waiting all summer to make this video, and the time has come. Now before we get into it, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. The goal for this channel this year is to make it the home of Serie A, the home of Italian football. Now let's start off from 20th place all the way to 16th. In 20th, I have Cremonese. You guys see the pronunciation. 20th place, I have Cremonese. I just feel like the golfing class between Serie B and Serie A, it's massive. It's getting bigger season after season. The lack of finances, the lack of investment on these squads. And I also feel like Cremonese losing Giovanni Stroppa to Venezia, and then they've brought in Cagliari's, I believe, Davide Nicola. I don't see it. To be fair, even if Giovanni Stroppa stayed, they probably would have had a better chance. But even then, there's a lack of investment, a lack of quality. Like the Serie A is very, very, very difficult to accumulate enough points to stay in the league. And there's a reason why a lot of the teams that come up from Serie B into the Serie A, they end up going back down. Not everybody's a Como, and not everybody has Como's owners. Okay? Now, having said that, in 19th, I have Pisa. They lost Inzaghi to Palermo. I feel like the exact same thing applies to them that I said about Cremonese. In 18th, I have Lecce. Now, in my opinion, Lecce have overstayed their welcome in the Serie A. And very similar to Cremonese and Pisa, it's just a lack of quality across the park. A lack of quality defensively. A lack of quality defensively in midfield, in attack. The play style isn't the most sustainable. It's not the most rewarding defensively. It's not the most rewarding offensively. And I genuinely feel like season after season, they're fighting demons to stay in the Serie A. But I feel like this season, the time has come for Lecce to say goodbye to the Serie A. So I have them 18th. Now in 17th place, I have Verona. The exact same thing that I said about Cremonese, Pisa, especially Lecce. Lack of quality, lack of investment. The play style isn't the most sustainable. And I feel like these teams, season after season, they fight to stay in the league. And sometimes they need luck in order to get the job over the line. 16th place, I have Parma. Parma, I just don't get it. Like, you see when Parma made it back into the Serie A, I was actually so happy because of, like, the culture, the football heritage, their history. Like, Parma is one of the big clubs of Italian football. You look at some of the players that have come out of Parma. But I've looked at their summer and I told myself, like, last season, you actually had yourself a few assets that contributed to you staying into the Serie A, that contributed to you picking up them key 3 points during a relegation scrap. They've gotten rid of every single one of them. Simone has gone to Fiorentina. What a player. And I don't even think he went for much. Boni has gone to Inter. Their out-and-out goal scorer, Mr. Dynamism, Mr. Pace and Power in the final third. He's gone to Inter. Giovanni Leone, I feel like they made it crystal clear they really wanted him to stay one more year because he's integral. Like, he plays a massive part in whether or not they win, whether or not they draw, whether or not they stay in the Serie A. He's now gone to Liverpool. I've looked at their overall investment. They've spent some cash, but I'm not too familiar with the players that they've brought in. I feel like they'll still have enough quality to stay into the Serie A. But I genuinely feel like if they had kept those players this season, we would have seen some serious growth in Parma. But because of that, I have them 16th. Now in 15th place, I have Cagliari. I've never ever liked Cagliari. I'll be so honest with you guys. I've just never ever liked them. But yeah, I have them 15th. Don't get me wrong. I feel like they've brought in a few good players this summer. They've brought in Esposito, the one that was at Spezia last year. And they've also brought in Kalik Choy from Besiktas. Good player, man. Like, good young Turkish player, full of fight, full of grit. Got an eye for goal. I'm actually very surprised Besiktas even sent him to Cagliari. But he is definitely a player to keep an eye on. Genoa is just one of those teams, difficult to come up against, but I feel like in the final third, they really struggle to put the ball into the back of the net on a consistent basis. And the reason why their growth season after season is limited is because of that. But having said that, Patrick Vieira is there. And if there's one thing that Patrick Vieira has shown at Genoa, he knows how to grind out results. He knows how to keep this team in the league. So 14th place, I have Genoa. 13th place, I have Udinese. Very similar, like the recruitment, it's been limited. It hasn't been the most eye-catching in terms of departments. They've let go of Lorenzo Luca. Now, this is one which has caused a massive dent with them offensively. Like, you have to bear in mind, they had themselves a 6'7" striker. Whoever came up against Udinese last year didn't want to come up against a 6'7" striker. And I also believe there's a lot of talks of them potentially losing their best centre-half in Solet. If they do lose him, you've practically lost your best attacker. You've practically lost your best defender. I don't know. Like, Udinese is one of those teams very similar to Genoa, where they just find a way to stay into the league. Them in 13th place. In 12th, I have a team that I've got heavy stocks in this year. Sassuolo. I feel like Fabio Grosso, he actually plays a very nice brand of football. They're very difficult to break down, and they're very direct in the final third. He's got Berardi. He's got Lorient. They managed to retain him after he scored, like, last season, I believe, 18 goals in Serie B, over 25 goal contributions. Like, he was Mr. MVP for them last year. I believe Sunderland wanted him, but the deal fell through. I don't know if he, like, failed his medical or something, but retaining him is so important. And I feel like even when Sassuolo were in the Serie A a few years ago before getting relegated, Lorient, Berardi, they were two players that were having an impact. And now, with more experience, Sassuolo for me is definitely a team to watch. I really like what Grosso has built over there. And we have Torino. Torino for me is like the Fulham of the Premier League. They're like the Villarreal, the Valencias of La Ligas. They're just always in the Serie A. Okay, don't get me wrong. They've lost Samuel Ricci. Once again, I am not too familiar with some of the players that they've brought in, like, just to be completely honest with you guys. But at the same time, I feel like there's credit in the bank when it comes to Torino. Season after season, they finish mid-half. They finish in and around 11th, 13th place. They always have enough in the tank to stay in the Serie A. Now we're talking the top half. This is what I like to call my bread and butter. This is my zibid and khobuz. This is me. The top half. Boy, oh boy, it's about to get disrespectful. It's about to get upsetting. But it's only right. I give you the home truths. Like, it's only right. It's only fair. 10th place. You will never fool me, Ivan Juric. Atalanta. Now, I feel like this is going to be the biggest drop-off in this area. Going from a Champions League spot to 10th place. Atalanta. I just don't buy into Juric. I just don't buy into their recruitment. Their departures, don't even get me started. Losing the top goal scorer, Retegui, who scored goals for fun last season for them. Letting him go and not really going out and getting a replacement of equal quality. All their hopes hang on somebody like Scamacca. Now, Scamacca is a lovely player, but Scamacca is also returning from an ACL. We don't know how long it will take him. Secondly, as much as now it's being reported that Inter have stepped away from Lookman, I still feel like Lookman is leaving Atalanta. If it's not for a Serie A club, it might be for a club across Europe. Losing Retegui, potentially losing Lookman. I have a dirty feeling that they're about to lose Ederson. They've lost a lot of players. And not to mention, they've lost Gasperini. Like, Gasperini, in my opinion, over the past 4 or 5 years, he's been the one manager in the Serie A that generates the most productivity all over Calcio, all over Italian football. No matter who you give him, he turns them into goal-scoring machines. They don't have that anymore. So you have to bear in mind, they're not going to be high-flying Atalanta that are winning games 3-4, 5-0, having 30 shots on goal. I watched Atalanta against Juve in the preseason game. They stank, bro. They don't look good. But having said that, there's enough quality in the tank. There's enough fuel for them to still finish in the top half. Like, there's still Scamacca, there's still Samardzic, there's still CDK, there's still Scalvini, there's still Isaac Hayne. Ederson, if he was to stay, Zappa Costa, Bellanova, like, they're still good players, but they are not the Atalanta that, in my opinion, everybody hated to come up against under Gasperini. The Gasperini dent is massive. Now, in 9th place, I have Bologna, Vincenzo Italiano's Bologna. A bit of a shock, because I feel like everybody thought they would kick on this season. I feel like they've done a lot of damage to their team this summer. A lot of damage. Now, don't get me wrong, Bologna is always one of those teams where they bring in players that I'm not too familiar with, and after 1-2 years, I'm looking at them and thinking, wow, these are stars. Wow, look at how they developed them. I'll be honest, I don't really know any of the players that they've brought in. I feel like the den of losing Bukima in defence is massive. There are talks now of Lukimi going to Sunderland. If you lose your backbone, you lose that foundation. Like Bologna were actually very difficult to break down last year. If you now go and lose your defensive partnership that made you what you were, then I'll be honest with you guys, you're in big trouble. No matter who you bring in, they're not going to have the same impact collectively as Lukimi and Bukima. And then they went and lost Dan and Doy. In 8th, I have Lazio. Lazio is one of those teams where, once again, as far as I know, they haven't really signed anybody. But I feel like they have a good team. Like, I genuinely feel like they have a good team. Rovella, Guendouzi, Tavares, Castellanos, Dia, Pedro, Zaccani. Like, they've got a good team. But I feel like also Maurizio Sarri coming back. I love Sarri. I'm just putting it out there. Like, he is hands down one of my favourite coaches. I feel like him coming back, it's like unfinished business. Don't get me wrong. He is a character. He is a big personality. But the thing about Sarri is, in my opinion, his football is so rewarding. It's so productive. It's so dominant. Don't get me wrong. It could be 100 times better if he had the right assets, if he had the right personnel. But I also feel like at the same time, Sarri walking into a team in a camp where the players are already familiar with the way that he wants to play, it makes the settling in period far easier and far quicker. And I genuinely feel like Lazio will have a very good season. Like, they will be a team that you don't want to come up against. They will be a team that probably plays a very attractive brand of football. But I feel like in order for them to make that jump, that leap into the top 4, into them European spots, they do need like some investment. They do need some like penetrative players with X factor. But at the moment, they haven't signed anybody as far as I know. Now in 7th, I have Fiorentina. In my opinion, Fiorentina is like one of the most complete teams in the Serie A. Like when I say complete, I don't mean 10 out of 10 all over the pitch, but genuinely like 6.5, 7 out of 10 all over the pitch. I like some of their business. They've brought in Fazzini from Empoli. Never watched him in my life, but I saw a few highlight reels. And let's just say, I am a fan. But Fazzini looks good. They've brought Simon from Parma. Very, very, very good player. Most importantly, they've done what Atalanta couldn't do, which is retain their top goal scorer in Moise Kean. And I actually respect Moise Kean for it, to be completely honest with you. Like, he was getting life-changing money from across the world. He wants to stay. He wants to cement his name in Italian football and Calcio. And I respect it, man. I really, really, really do. I feel like Moise Kean's going to have another crazy season. Fagioli has been signed on a permanent basis. From the looks of it, they're going to keep Comuso at the back. Fiorentina is a good team. Like, Fiorentina is actually talented in defense, in midfield, in attack. Fiorentina, for me, will have a good season. They will, once again, similar to last year, be a team you don't want to come up against. Now, having said that, in 6th, we have Como. Yes, this one is crazy. I am a believer. I am a believer in the Como project. I am. I really am. I just feel like with them, fair enough, they might not have the big marquee names as like a Fiorentina, as a Lazio, as a Bologna, as an Atalanta. Like, I feel like Atalanta have some of the biggest of names for a team that I've got 10th. I feel like what Como have, which makes them stand out from other teams in the Serie A, is one of the most penetrative play styles that you can't really measure, that you can't really track, that you can't really study. I've read so much about Fabregas. I've watched so much of Como. They're so entertaining to watch. And I feel like the fact that it's a camp full of hungry players that have a point to prove, they grow together. They develop together. They have an impact on games together. And Fabregas, for me, has already shown if there's one coach in the world that you could give him a squad with an average age of 22, 23, and he can unite these young players and help them to fulfill their potential, it's Cesc Fabregas. Like, Inter won in him in the summer. It wasn't a shock to me at all. If anything, it was more of a shock to me that he wanted to stay at Como, but he believes in the project. This is Como's season, man. Now, in 5th place, I have Gasperini's Roma. I was so close to putting them into a Champions League spot. So close! But because of the Europa League, I feel like it might be too much games. But Gasperini, for me, like, hands down, one of my favourite coaches. One of my favourite coaches. I love everything that he stands for. I love his principles of play. I love the way he plays the game, the way he sets up his team. I love his in-game tactics. I love the way he develops players. Like, Gasperini is one of those guys that's shown season after season, I can turn the most unwanted of assets into the most wanted of assets. And my play style is so dominant. It's so penetrative. It's so productive. Roma are going to score so many goals this season. And I feel like also the fact is, he's walked into a Roma team. Like, I feel like Roma Gasperini is one that's just always made sense throughout the years. But he walks into a team where The one thing that I feel like Roma last season under Ranieri showed everybody in the Serie A is they are united. It's a very strong camp of a very strong mentality. And if somebody is in charge that knows how to help these players locked in, they will give you 120% every single game. And I feel like they've done that last season under Ranieri. Now, with all due respect, you're bringing Gasperini, who in my opinion tactically is better. His system is more fluid. His system is more productive. You give him the likes of Dybala, Soulé. Dovbyk, never really been a fan, but okay, let's just mention his name for the sake of it. Dovbyk. Evan Ferguson, keep an eye on him. Hands down, one of the players to watch out for this season. Then you've got Ainu in midfield. Manu Kone, who they've managed to retain. This is a good team. This is a very good team. As much as I feel like maybe they do need one more centre-back, but with Ndika, with Gilardi that they've signed, Svila that they've managed to retain in goal. Oh my God, I might have just convinced myself to put them into the top 4. I feel like Europa League. Europa League will be their Achilles heel. Europa League will be their Europa. But I genuinely feel like, one, they will definitely compete for a Champions League spot. 2, they will be the team to watch this season. I really need to dive into some Roma content this year. But yeah, Gasperini's Roma in 5th. In 4th place, I have Inter. Wow, can you guys even see me? In 4th place, I have Inter. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I don't believe in Kivu. I just don't. Like, don't get me wrong. 1, I'm not too familiar with him. 2, he is a novice. Like, he's not the most experienced in terms of managing a team. 3, it's really giving work experience vibes. But having said all of that, there's so many managers that have gone out there and defied the odds. But at the moment, I can't sit down and lie to you guys and tell you I truly believe in Kivu. Based off what I saw in the Club World Cup, based off what I've seen in pre-season from Inter. Inter, don't get me wrong, Inter will always win games. Inter will always be a team in the Serie A that you don't want to come up against. Inter will always shock people in Europe, in Coppa Italia, in the Serie A. Why? They've got good players. This is an Inter team that is ready to win now, ready to compete now. The players, yes, some are old, but the ones that aren't are in the prime years of their career. And because of that, I don't look at Inter and say your fall off is going to be massive. There's enough good players. Marcus Thuram, Lautaro Martinez. I really like Sucic, Barella, Çalhanoğlu, Bastoni, Dumfries, DeMarco. It's a good team. It's a very good team. But I feel like with every good team, it needs guidance. And this is where I question more Kivu than I question the squad. If somebody sat me down right now and said to me, you are forced to sit down and defend Kivu, the only way I can do it is, the only way I can justify this appointment is Beppe Marotta. I'll just turn around and be like, listen, back Kivu because Beppe Marotta backs him. Back Simone Inzaghi because Beppe Marotta backed him. Back Conte because Beppe Marotta is the one who brought him, yeah? Beppe Marotta, 9 times out of 10, gets his football decisions spot on in terms of player recruitment, in terms of manager recruitment. But having said all of that, I feel like Simone Inzaghi achieved far more at Lazio than somebody like Kivu. I just don't see it. Like, I'm being completely honest. And I feel like even if he was to go on and be the next big thing, it won't be this season. I feel like it's very difficult for him to walk into a camp where the morale is down. I feel like it's a very fragile camp because of what happened last season. It's going to take a lot of work to lift these players back up. At the same time, Inter have just gotten a year older. Last season, they were old. This season, they've gotten a year older. All of the players that last season were labelled surplus to requirements, and it's time for Inter to let them go because of their age, they're still going to be regular starters this season. HAJJBALL will be a regular starter this season. Mkhitaryan will be a regular starter this season. Darmian, Soma, like, these guys are old. These guys are very old. Çalhanoğlu, what is he, 31, 32? There's a lot of old players in this team, and because of that, old players, inexperienced coach, I can't see them being as consistent this season to accumulate enough points to get into the, I don't know, top 3 or to even compete for the Serie A. But having said that, they will still win games. They will still get into Champions League football. Now, whenever the yellow light comes on, we all know who I'm talking about. We're talking about the Bianconeri. Juventus. I have them 3rd. Juventus, for me, their biggest Achilles heel this season, their biggest setback is that backline, in my opinion. And nobody can convince me otherwise. Bremer is lovely. Bremer is great. But at the same time, if I was in charge, I would never ever put this much responsibility on Bremer to come back and hit the ground running. Bearing in mind, he's just come back from an ACL. But having said that, I feel like the responsibility is already on his shoulders because when he looks to his left, he hasn't got the best of centre-half partnerships. When he looks to his right, he doesn't really have the best of centre-half partnerships. Don't get me wrong. I really don't want to come across harsh. Gatti, Kalulu, Kelly, they're good, they're decent, but decent doesn't accumulate you enough points to win a scudetto. Decent doesn't allow you to accumulate points to get into the business end of the season competing for a scudetto. It doesn't. Last season, so many times, under Motta, under Tudor, during the Club World Cup, I'm watching Juventus and I'm thinking, you look good in attack, you look good in midfield, you look dominant, you're winning your duels, but all it takes is one mistake from Kalulu and they concede. One mistake from Kelly and they concede. One mistake by Gatti, by him mistiming his jump, and they concede. Juventus, for me, this summer, they should have prioritized the backline because I feel like the foundation was practically done. They have Di Gregorio, who's great. They had Bremer, who was coming back. All they needed was just one or two centre-halves, and the backline, the foundation, the backbone of their team would have been perfect. And then they can start working on the midfield and the attack. I've said this many times this season. I feel like Juventus' priorities in the transfer market were wrong. Jonathan David, fair enough. Free agent, you have to jump at it. A defender should have come before somebody like Conceição. In my opinion, a defender should have come before somebody like Kolo Muani. Juventus will score goals this season, but in my opinion, they will concede a lot. I genuinely feel like they will be in and around there. They will compete, but I feel like eventually they will be the team to drop off. But if Juventus were to go out and get some defenders, where are the defenders? Completely different question. Completely different question. Colours have changed once again. We've gone for the light blue. What does that mean? Who's coming second? Now, I'm only joking. Second, I have Milan. Let's just quickly get the red on. Red. There we go. Second, I have Milan. In my opinion, Milan are the dark horse of this season. Milan are the team that you don't want to come up against. Milan, in my opinion, have already guaranteed themselves an extra 9 to 12 points in their back pocket, strictly because they play once a week. I think in football, in modern football, with all of the fixtures every week, international tournaments, Club World Cup, new Champions League format, the biggest cheat code in football, in my opinion, is one game a week. That is the biggest cheat code. That will turn you from being a mid-table team into competitors. That will turn you from competitors into title winners. One game a week is the biggest cheat code. And there's a reason why so many managers across the world, they keep banging on about it. Like, oh yeah, I could win the league if I had one game a week. But guess what? On Wednesday nights, I have to fly to Spain to play in the Champions League. Milan, these are all the things in their favour. I feel like, one, they've had a very, very, very good transfer window. They sold Reinders, but they've actually done an amazing job in replacing him and bringing in extra players that they can now rotate, that all can have now different impact on games. One step backwards, 2-3 steps forwards when it comes to the Tijani Reinders sale and his replacement. Very good transfer window. Allegri, yes, the brand of football might not be the best, but from what I've seen, it looks good. It looks dominant, but on top of everything, it looks very, very, very defensive. They look very compact. They look very difficult to break down. And at the end of the day, a defense will always win you a league title. It's a saying. Defense wins you leagues. Defense wins you trophies. If you stop the opposition from scoring, you've always got a chance of winning. Now, having said that, I feel like offensively, they've got good players. I kept saying this last season during the bad times under Fonseca, under Conceição. This team is not as bad as you may think. Pulisic, Leao, Santi Jimenez, all of these players. And now you bring in Estupinian, Jimenez at right back, Yashari, Modric, Ricci. This is a good team. They've retained Mike Maignan. Good transfer window. One game a week. Allegri's experience, the current crop of players that they have, Milan are the dark horse, in my opinion. I feel like Milan will definitely compete. Milan will definitely be the team that are up Napoli's arse the whole season. But I feel like at the end, Napoli, in my opinion, just collectively, in terms of X factor on the pitch, in terms of the big names, I feel like they'll have more in their tank to get the job over the line. And having said that, I think Napoli... Let's change the colours quick. Yeah, I feel like Napoli will be the Serie A winners. Don't get me wrong. Anything can happen. But one part of me really feels like Napoli will just surrender the Champions League. Like, they'll probably drop out of the playoffs or maybe drop out into the quarters. And if that was to happen, that's bad news for everybody. Antonio Conte goes back to one game a week. But having said that, it's a good team. Like, I'll be very honest with you guys. And very similar to what I said about Milan. A defense will always win you titles. They've got Buongiorno. They've got Bukima. They've got Di Lorenzo, who in my opinion last season was good. They've got themselves a very solid backline. On top of that, they've managed to keep Lobotka. They've retained Anguissa, who looked like he wanted to leave. Then you add in McTominay, Kevin De Bruyne, Noah Lang, Lorenzo Luca, Antonio Neres? I forgot what his first name was. Neres. Yes, Lukaku is injured, but I feel like Luka is more than ready to lead the line for them because Luka is now surrounded by chance creators, by game winners. If KDB hits the ground running, KDB can win you this league alone. KDB is not finished. KDB, when the Serie A starts, you guys will see why he stuck around for 10 plus years at Manchester City. Why Pep Guardiola, season after season, was building his team around him. Yes, he doesn't have the legs, he doesn't have the physicality anymore, but the technical ability is there. The IQ is still there. I really like Napoli's backline. Sounds crazy. I really like Napoli's defense. And I feel like their defense is what keeps them in the title race. Their defense is what wins them those tough games. Their defense is what wins them games against tough opposition because they know how to stop danger. Plus Antonio Conte. Conte been there, done it before. He's been backed. Not how can I forget? Milinkovic-Savic in goal. But I just feel like Napoli's going to be one of those teams, but we're watching them this season and we're like, they just can't drop points because they've got game changers all over the park. But anything can happen. I also do know in the business end of the season, if Napoli are in all competitions, they will drop off. And if that does happen, you never know who's going to capitalize. It might be Milan, it might be Juve, it might be Inter. I don't know. But listen, those are my predictions. It's crazy. It truly is. Anybody that sat down and watched the whole video, I actually appreciate it. The Serie A campaign is about to start. We are about to go hard on this channel. Match reviews every weekend. Make sure to like. Make sure to subscribe. I love every single one of you guys. Catch you on another one.